we're diving into a topic that cuts to the core of African identity, history, and progress. Our discussion is titled, Why is Religion Immune from Decolonialization? Decolonization is supposed to be about reclaiming what was taken, about dismantling colonial structures and rebuilding societies in ways that reflect indigenous values, culture, and identity. And yet, here we are, decades after gaining political independence, still bowing at the altars of foreign gods, still living under religious doctrines that were imposed on us, still measuring morality, governance, and progress through a lens that was never ours to begin with. How did we get here? And more importantly, why does religion seem to be the one colonial institution that remains untouched, unquestioned, and even embraced? Historically, religion was not just a byproduct of colonialism, it was its engine. It wasn't just about control over land.
Why is religion immune from decolonization? An intelligent conversation needs to happen around this topic. We have gathered a dynamic panel of intellectuals, activists, and community leaders to explore why religion appears to be the enduring legacy of colonialism. But let's be clear, colonialism isn't just stealing of land and resources. It involves the hijacking of minds. It's erased histories, rewrote identities, and left behind an institution so powerful, so deeply embedded, that even after the colonizers packed their bags, it stayed behind. And what is that institution, you may ask? It is religion. Now, before we go any further, let's just be clear. This is not an attack on Western values, nor is it about rejecting everything that came with colonization. The goal here is not blind opposition, but critical examination. Progress, science, and human rights are universal concepts that transcend any one culture. What we are doing tonight is questioning why religion, the very tool that justified slavery, conquest, and subjugation, remains the one colonial structure that we refuse to challenge. If we are serious about self-determination, shouldn't we be willing to re-examine everything, not just the parts that are easy to reject? Religion wasn't just part of colonialization, it was the blueprint. It was the tool that made Africans complicit in their own subjugation. It taught us that suffering was noble, that questioning was rebellion, and that our ancestors, our traditions were primitive, demonic even, and we bought it. Decolonialization was supposed to be about reclaiming history, power, and destiny. But how can we call Africans truly free when we still kneel before the gods of our oppressors? When the very thing that justified our enslavement and conquest is still the thing that we defend the most? Tonight, we are going to rip this wide open. Why did religion survive decolonialization? How does it continue to shape African identity and hold us back? And most importantly, can we ever be truly free if we are still mentally colonized by faith?
There was a cunning and systematic process in play to work on the African's mindset. Because the moment you conquer people mentally, then conquering them physically will become a breeze. But I'm really fascinated by this topic. I've been looking at some of our histories. Thank goodness for social media. We have this channel called Mau Mau Chronicles. And some of our professors are talking about our colonial history in Kenya. I've also been reading a lot of material written by people who lived in the pre-colonial era and the colonial era in my country. There's Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who wrote a memoir called Dreams in the Time of War, and many other pieces of literature on the same. So this is the idea. When the white man decided that they're going to colonize Africa, they said that we must ensure the African loves their place as a subjugated race. We are going to make Kenya, we are going to make the East African Protectorate or any other country in the continent a white man's country. And we are going to make them love their position in that place. So what did the white man do, the white colonizer? He instructed missionaries to teach Black people that they are subjugated, that they are to submit themselves to authorities. In fact, there was a letter that was discovered by King Leopold when he was instructing missionaries about how to conduct themselves in the Congo. They had forgotten it in some Bible somewhere, and it's been doing the rounds on social media. So he said, teach these people not to think. Make sure that they hold you in reverence. When you get a guest in your home, a Black guest, never give them a seat and always demand taxes from them. And he was telling them to teach them this because missionaries were also in charge of schools. Here in Kenya, most of the early schools were run by missionaries, and the missionaries emphasized practical or technical skills like agriculture, maybe masonry, etc. But you are not to teach the Black man to think for himself. And that is exactly the mindset that has continued to prevail among religious people, the colonial mindset. It's so pervasive, and it was so carefully crafted. I think the word Afro-atheist wanted to use is cunning. The colonizer was cunning, not just brutal. He was clever. Instead of just using brute force, he used the mind. So he had a three-pronged approach. I'm just about to finish. He had a three-pronged approach. He used the administrators, the colonial administrators. Those ones were the ones who came with a gun. Then he had sorry, let me backtrack. The administrators were the ones to run the different provinces in the colony. Those ones were the ones in charge of the nitty-gritties, delegating duties, etc., and they were predominantly white. Then we had the soldiers. Those ones are the ones that had the guns. They were the ones that that brutalized us using physical force. And then the third category were the missionaries who were responsible for softening our minds to make us receptive to the colonial enterprise. So it was three-pronged. It attacked us on all levels, and there was just no way that we could get away from the colonial enterprise. Yeah.
About African identity post religion was something I found in a speech that former President Thabo Mbeki said in South Africa at the formation or the establishment of the South African Constitution, which today which established South Africa as a secular state, where he says that he captures the pinnacle of the nuanced African identity. And I'm going to conclude with this, and then I'm over and I'm done, and I'll let you guys do the rest. So Thabo Mbeki said, "So let me begin. I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys, the mountains, the glades, the rivers, the deserts, the trees, the flowers, the seas, and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land. At times and in fear, I've wondered whether I should concede equal citizenship of our country to the leopard and the lion, the elephant and the springbok, the hyena, the black mamba, and the pestilential mosquito. A human presence among all these, a feature on the face of our native land, thus defined, I know that none dare challenge me when I say I'm an African." And this, I believe, is the pinnacle of an African identity, devoid of gods, devoid of religion in and of itself, but rooted in the very soil of the origins of, I believe, the African identity.
This concept of African identity is so entwined with religion. For many Africans, religion isn't just a belief system. It's a complete identity. It's family, it's community, it's tradition. Christianity and Islam have been so tightly woven into the fabric of African life that questioning any of these sacred cows feels like you are betraying your own people. But let's challenge this. This wasn't always the case. It was engineered. You know, it's a remnant of the colonial engine, and Africa had its own very rich traditions, diverse, complex, deeply connected to lands, and you know, even some ancestors were revered in most cultures. Yet today, many of those traditions are either forgotten, demonized, or they're barely surviving in the shadows of churches and mosques. So how did that happen? And how did religion manage to rebrand itself, so to say, as the very tool, you know, when it was the very tool that that was used to strip Africa bare, especially of its cultural autonomy? And you know, more importantly, how do we begin to separate faith from heritage without losing the sense of belonging that religion provides?
All right. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, our viewers out there. Well, I want to accuse my fellow panelists. You guys are being academic. You know, I spent a lot of time doing all this Ph.D. in religion, and I must tell you, it's one of the most boring time of my life. You know, you keep listening to stupid stories like, you know, you would think that this is narrated by a mad person, somebody with mental health. They'll tell you analyze. I said, listen, how can a sane person analyze stories told by somebody who is mentally unsound? You know, what are you trying to do? Okay, so you guys are being little scholarly here. That's why I'm a bit lost. You know, what are you calling religion? Somebody you don't know the mental state is saying something, and other people blindly follow it, and now you are now trying to dance around it and all that. Can we zoom in and ask, what is this thing called religion? First, it comes in a way that we should not question it. And here, I'm not interested whether you call it indigenous, you call it Christian, you call it Islam. It's all about control. It's all about tyranny. It's all about dogma. So it is a competing field of dogmas. Now, those who conquer the place will impose their own dogma. And of course, challenging their dogma is like challenging their authority, and you know the consequences. So, is anybody surprised why a lot of Africans are Muslims? I want to tell you, it's because they don't want to die. We are actually dying. You get it? Because I want to tell you that go and see what's going on in Nigeria. We are Boko Haram that's slaughtering people. But the question is that we are dying many times. And I'm looking to a panel like this to see what we can do and limit these times we are dying. And you people are here dancing around it. Religion encapsulates superstition, irrationalism, sometimes pronouncements made by people who are mentally unsound. Now, can you tell me, all of you here, do you have any certificate confirming any of the prophets as in a good mental state? Do you have anywhere anybody who wrote any of the scripture? You can vouch for the mental. Go and read something like the book of Revelation. Even read the Quran. Slaughter, kill, conquer. And you guys are here talking about these horrible legacies as if, oh, religion came, the control. Religion encapsulates terror. Yes. And over the years, people are afraid of calling out all this. So first, what am I trying to say here? Decolonizing religion. Now, are you going to decolonize it and remove dogma from it? What does it mean? That's my problem. My problem is that if you are decolonizing religion, you want us to return to the indigenous religion where they are sacrificing human beings. You want us to go back. I was even hearing that or reading it somewhere. Okay, you want us to go back to the indigenous religion. Is it indigenous religion that missed the 21st century life, or indigenous religion of my forefathers? Where do you want to start with indigenous religion? So it doesn't really make sense. Now, do we decolonize it today? What does it mean? For some people, I want to tell you that religion has actually been decolonized. I want to let you know that. Okay? Yeah. How is it? The Arabs are going away, the Nigerians are taking over. So if you violate anything in Islam, they're not gonna issue any fatwa from Saudi Arabia. It will come from Zamfara. It will come from Kano. It will come from, so we are our own colonizers, if you are to say it. So what am I trying to say here? We need to really resituate the issue of religion and ask ourselves, what does decolonization here mean? Now, I'm going to conclude by saying this. Decolonization resonates with challenging the authority. Decolonization means challenging the assumptions and teachings. Decolonization means questioning, pronouncements and teachings. And fellow panelists, these are not sentiments that go along with religion. So it's like, are you trying to do the impossible? Yes. Yes, that is it. So I think there's a need for us to really ask ourselves, first of all, what is religion? What are the characteristics of this religion? And what do we mean by decolonizing it? And even if they said it's hard, can we on this panel begin to decolonize it and tell the world what decolonizing religion from an African perspective is? Because this is one thing that a lot of African scholars do not want to do. They don't want to zoom in and put this religion on a table and begin to tear it apart. Because think about it. Somebody will tell you, oh, this book of holy book was revealed in a cave to an ignorant man. Let me tell you, I will tell you, hey, shut up. You are talking rubbish. There's no need dancing around this. Another person will tell you, oh, this book was written 2,000 years ago. It was told by those who saw those. I say, hey. You can't take me on this. I'm not joking here. You get it? And they will tell you, look, this book, everything written inside it is correct. Are you a fool to accept such a thing as? So, I mean, please, can we really open this space and begin to talk about this thing and stop doing it like scholars of religion who want to write papers and get promoted and become professors in the universities. They don't want to lose salary and all that. We have lost a lot already. So please, can we make this more vibrant? Can we make this more engaging? Can we begin the decolonization right here and right now?
Political independence was only part of the story. The deeper challenge was decolonizing the mind, culture, and institutions, a far more complex struggle still today. Decolonization is not just about borders. It's about reclaiming knowledge, culture, memory, and identity. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please consider supporting me if you can afford it. The link is in the description, and I would love anything to help with video making and improving the quality of videos. Other things you can do to support YouTubers are simply a click of a like button, a couple of clicks to share the link to friends who might want to watch. And if you're up to commenting, it encourages YouTube to promote my content. Thanks for viewing,